information. That was awesome. Well, tonight I'm excited because I get to talk to you about promoting events, which is very easy coming out of this major event to learn how to promote events. So, when David and I started our business at the age of 23, we didn't have a lot of credibility. And so we really used events to build our business and outside tools to build our business because who's going to listen to a 23-year-old? They're like, you don't know anything. And we were broke in a very difficult time in our life. And so because of our circumstances, it really made us depend on the systems that were put in place in Market America. And thank God that happened because it truly created residual income. How many people in here want to create residual income? Absolutely. So not just income that is based on the work that you're doing today, but income like a Garth Brooks or an Elvis Presley. That Garth Brooks writes a song, 10 years later that song is played, he creates residual income. But most people, they work a job and they're paid today for the work that they're getting, but not 10 years from now for the work that they do today, right? Well, creating an environment where you're getting time outside of your time is called leverage. And that's where the system comes into place. And so as we go through promoting events and how that works, I want to talk about what is the proper focus for building your business. Because a lot of times people will come into Market America and they're used to having a job. When I worked as a cosmetologist, I cut hair today and I was paid for those hours. And in doing that, I focused everything on what I was doing because I was only in control of what I was doing. But in Market America, you can't really focus on the hours that you are working. You have to look at the hours of what an organization does, not just what you do. So what you do in Market America is what we call 45-year plan hours. Okay, so most people are used to working a job. They go to work around the age of 20 to 25. They're supposed to retire around the age of 60 to 65, and we call that the 45-year plan, right? Okay, so in Market America, we still have that, but that's based on the hours that you are working. That's what we call the 45-year plan hours. Market America offers what we call the 2 to 3 year plan, right? Somebody works for 2 to 3 years, and in 2 to 3 years, they're able to produce an ongoing 6-figure income. That's what the plan is designed to do. That is what an organization can do. Through your example is what we call the 2 to 3 year plan. So in Market America, we have, David and I call a 3-legged stool. So have you guys ever seen like a milking stool before? Yeah, okay, they're really short, right? And they're very sturdy. I actually talked to somebody that owned a dairy farm, and he said that 3-legged stools, the way that they're built, they're actually stronger than a 4-legged stool. I didn't know that. But he said they have to be very strong because when you're milking a cow, you don't know when the cow will move, it'll get you knocked over, and so they're very sturdy. So if you can imagine Market America as being one of these 3-legged stools. The top of it is basically the company and how the company works. But then these 3 legs really set us apart from other things. And we have trainings on this. How many of you guys have actually seen me train on the 3-legged stool? Okay, so if you haven't seen this training, you can actually see this training on, what did we do it on? Do you guys remember?
Well, it's the phone call.
Yes, it was the conference call that I did. It's on YouTube, and it's called Market America versus MLM, right? Market America versus MLM by Stacy. And I think it's like a 30-minute YouTube that you can, it's a conference call, but it's got my picture on it, but that you can listen to, and I'm talking about this 3-legged stool. So this will just kind of give you an example of what that looks like. The 3-legged stool, the first leg of the 3-legged stool is what we call the mall without walls. It's what really sets us apart from anything else. Most of the time when you're dealing with somebody that's involved in direct sales or network marketing, a lot of times they have a limited product line. Would you guys agree? Maybe like Emily was talking about earlier, she was involved in something that was just makeup before. Well, would you guys agree that if all you have is a company with makeup, you've now limited to yourself to how many people you can talk to about that company? About half of the population. Would you guys agree? Because the other half probably aren't going to have much interest in that makeup. But when you have a whole mall without walls, yes, somebody may be interested in motives, but they may not. They may be interested in health and nutrition, or they're interested in pet health, or automotive. So that we have all of these different stores that you can offer. Here's another major thing that sets us apart. Let's say that I'm dealing with a company that all they have is peanut butter. All this company sells is peanut butter. And then I have this company over here that they sell peanut butter and they sell jelly. Would you guys agree that the person with peanut butter and jelly, as long as the peanut butter is equivalent on value, that they're probably going to sell more than the person that's just offering peanut butter. They don't have to be a great salesperson, but because they now offer jelly, their volume has increased without having to add on to their distributorship or to get more customers. Does that make sense? But let's say the next month they add bread. Now what just happened? I just tripled volume without having to increase the amount of distributors in that company or increase the amount of customers. Do you guys see the power of having now millions of products with Market America? Because you don't have to be that great. Remember, we say you need about 10 customers that do about $30 a month is our goal with Market America. 10 customers doing $30 a month is what it takes to create an ongoing residual income when following the Market America plan. And so understanding just the power of having this mall without walls, you don't have to be a great salesperson, you just have to be willing to offer the product. Does that make sense to everyone? So that's the first leg in our three-legged stool. The second leg is the marketing plan. Now, we've already spent a lot of time going over the marketing plan, but would you guys agree that it cannot be compared to anything else? I mean, it is absolutely amazing. Remember what I said today when we were going through the marketing plan? If you can sleep at night, you do not understand the marketing plan, right? If you're not sleeping at night, you're getting it. And so because, I mean, it cannot be compared to, like, we don't have the problems of levels like they have typically in multi-level marketing. We don't have the horizontal marketing where people are on competition with each other. We don't have all the downsides that they would have with the typical network marketing or direct sales company. So, and again, on that conference call that I did for Kelly and Troy, it's on there as well. I talk about the difference between that and what sets it apart. But the third leg is the GMTSS. The Global Meeting Training Seminar System. This is what sets us apart from anything else. So remember that three-legged stool makes that stool strong. It's the third leg. You would never trust a stool with two legs, right? Or trust a stool with one leg because it's going to fall apart. It's the third leg that really sets us apart. If you've been involved in direct sales or network marketing, it's hard to expand your business to other areas outside of where you're currently living or working. Because who's going to train those people in those other areas? Does that make sense? You would have to fly there and train them yourself, or you'd have to pay somebody else to train them for you. With the Global Meeting Training Seminar System, I can have an organization in Alaska or California like I do, or in New York, and those people would attend trainings and see the exact same PowerPoint that you're seeing. They're going to go through the exact same trainings of the Basic 5 and the New One Franchise Owner training. They're getting everything that I get here or that you get here, but they're being trained there, but they're still in my organization. Do you see the power of that? So you could have meetings going on in Florida with Tanya, or in California with Colton, or in New York with Amber Yang, and you're getting paid for all of those people, and you're getting trained right here in Houston. Do you guys see the power of that? I mean, it's absolutely incredible. So let's talk about how these events work. So you guys obviously know the weekly checklist. Well, the seventh thing on the weekly checklist is to attend 1 to 2 meetings a week. And you may be like, why? I'm already busy. I already have a certain amount of hours in a week that I'm putting into this business. Why would I attend a meeting? The meetings are what create the leverage, are what create the residual income. And so don't underestimate the power of the meeting system and how that works and what we use it for. There's 5 purposes of events. The first is to gain knowledge. You know, you don't have to go to college to be an unfranchised owner, but you still have to get education in order to be a successful unfranchised owner. Because you come into this business not knowing anything, but if you want to create professional income in this business, what do you have to become? A professional, of course. You can't make professional income and not become a professional. The nice thing about this is you don't have to stop and go to college, graduate from college, and then make money, creating debt along the way. You actually make money as you're learning simultaneously. What a great deal, right? I mean, pretty incredible. But you have to gain the knowledge in order to run it on a franchise. The second step is to improve your attitude. We call the training system with Market America the Basic 5. Do you guys know what the first thing is of the Basic 5? Attitude and knowledge. That's exactly right. So we've covered your gaining knowledge. The second one is attitude. It's really understanding what you have your hands on. It's a posture that you gain and knowing, oh my gosh, this is different from anything else, and I can actually be very confident in sharing it with others. You know, David and I, we have a funny joke that the only people that don't make money in Market America is what we call undercover Market America unfranchised owners. That if it was illegal to be an unfranchised owner, they would never be convicted. Because nobody would ever know. And so, but when you have the knowledge and you have the belief that this thing works, you want to tell everyone because you realize you're offering something that could completely change their life. And it's not something that you get the first day. It's something by being around and hearing more about it and having a greater understanding that you get the attitude that, yes, I want to share this with others because it's changing my life, but I know it can change their life as well. Does that make sense? And then the third thing is changing a behavior. You know, again, a lot of times when you become an unfranchised owner, you go from a job mentality, which is what most of us did, was we work a job, and you're used to being told what to do, right? So they say to be at work at 10, and you get off at 5, and so you go to work from 10 to 5. And while you're there, you pretty much have the structure of this is what needs to be done. So most people are used to being in that environment. And then you start Market America as an unfranchised owner, and it's like, oh my gosh, now what do I do? Nobody's really telling me what to do. And so it's like really learning a system and a behavior from going from being an employee mindset to an owner. Does that make sense? There's a difference between being an employee and being an owner. If you want to create residual ongoing income, you have to become an owner. Because the owner is what creates residual income to be able to walk away, because it's that mentality and it's that understanding, it's the behaviors that you do on a daily basis that create that residual income. It's when you're tired and you don't feel like doing something that you still do it, right? It's taking action. And so I know that there's a lot of business owners in here, and would you guys agree that there's a difference between an owner mentality and an employee mentality? Would you guys agree? And so it's learning how to switch from this to that, and that comes from attending events and learning what you have your hands on, but also learning the behaviors of what unfranchised owners do. So that's the third thing. The fourth thing is developing skills. Because you come in this with a certain skill level. You know, my husband and I started at 23, so our skill level was rather low. But in a very short period of time, there's only a certain amount of skills that you need in Market America. So in a certain amount of time, in a short period of time, you can learn those skills in order to be successful. But again, you have to be listening to the audios, you have to be reading the books, and you have to be attending the events to learn the skills that you need in order to be successful. And that's why, we make phone calls. That's why we teach you how to show the business plan. That's why, all of those things that we're practicing in Leadership Academy, that's why we try to make it a workshop where you're not just listening, but you're actually implementing and learning at the same time. And so those are very important as well. And then the last is building belief. Belief is everything. It's really interesting because I was just talking to Kenneth earlier before we started tonight, and we were talking about belief, because there's a difference between faith and belief. Would you guys agree? Right. Okay, so if you look at like a definition, what would that be? Well, faith requires something from you before there is evidence. So faith is requiring something from you before there's evidence. But belief is unshakable conviction based on first-hand experience. Does that make sense to you guys? Unshakable conviction based on first-hand experience. Well, you get that by attending the event. So one thing I want to do real fast, I didn't even tell Kenneth, but Kenneth, will you come up here real fast? So this is Kenneth Kirby, and he is new with Market America. How long have you been with the business?
October 19th is when we actually...
Okay, October 19th he got started, and he went to his very first World Conference. And we were actually, tonight before we started, you were talking about the belief. Can you tell us what you told me before when we started tonight?
Sure. In going to the World Conference, I already knew in my head that this is a great opportunity. I already knew in my head that this is something that I could do. But while I was there, it got in the heart. And with it going to the heart, I'm already there. I'm just waiting for the pieces to catch up now. Okay? It's awesome.
That is awesome. I think that's important to hear. Belief, I think it's one thing, belief that yes, the company is great to where you have a belief in yourself that it could actually work for you. You've seen it for others, but also having a belief that this can work for me, I can make this happen. And there's no doubt about it, it's going to happen for student Kenneth, no doubt about it. So really exciting. Let's talk about how the GMTSS is actually designed and why we have it. I want you to understand that in Market America, nothing is done by accident. You guys probably saw at World Conference, JR thinks things through. Did you guys kind of notice about that? He's a thinker. And so there's a reason and a purpose behind everything that we do with Market America. And so I know that we always say that Market America is not a pyramid, and it isn't, but the GMTS kind of is. Or at least it kind of forms that shape. So let's talk about the GMTSS and how that works. You have the lowest level, as you can tell, I don't know if this has a laser on it or not, but the lowest level at the bottom, the biggest part of the pyramid. Do you guys ever remember when you were growing up, like in the Cheerios box that had like the food pyramid? Did you guys ever see that? The bottom was supposed to be the most amount of food that you were supposed to eat, and as you went up, I think it was grains or something was the bottom. Of course, because it was put out by a Cheerios box there. Of course you need your carbs. But you know, it had the biggest portion at the bottom, and then as you went up, it was supposed to be like sweets were at the top, you know, the least amount that you're supposed to be eating. Does that make sense? Well, that's kind of how this pyramid works for Market America. It's kind of like that food pyramid. You have the lowest level, which is what we call one-on-ones and two-on-ones. And what that means is it's Michelle sitting across the table from Brittany, showing the business plan to her one-on-one. Does that make sense? That's the lowest level, and it's something that every person could do. You could be the brand newest person. Jamoris, you're the newest unfranchised owner here tonight, but you can do this. Does that make sense? Because every person can either share a video or pull out a flip chart and share concepts and ideas and dreams with another person. Does that make sense? Every person can do that. You don't have to be making a certain amount of money. Every person can do that, and that's our goal. We want every person in this room doing that. Does that make sense? So that's the lowest level of how the company works. The next thing up is what we call HBPs, which is Home Business Presentation, or UBPs, which is Unfranchised Business Presentation. And HBP is actually done in people's homes. So it can be done by anybody as well. You're sharing with a group of people. Now, instead of just having Michelle and Brittany together, now we have a group of maybe 5 people that are sharing this concept in somebody's home. Does that make sense? And then we have an unfranchised business presentation. It's using the same slides as you would use in your home, but now it's on a screen and people are more dressed up and it's a more professional setting. And usually the person in front of the room is making significant amount of money. Does that make sense? And then you also have Basic 5, which is a training system in Market America. That's the next rung or the next part of the pyramid with the GMTSS. If the one-on-ones and two-on-ones are not happening, you guys can see that there would be no reason to have a home business presentation or an unfranchised business presentation or a Basic 5. Does that make sense? And so if there's nobody showing up at home business presentations or unfranchised business presentations, then what we do is we say there's not enough one-on-ones, we need to get back into the coffee shops showing the business plan, and then we can come back and start this process again. Does that make sense to everyone? But the lowest level has to happen first before the next level. From there, we go to locals and what we call specialized training. Houston is going to have their very first local in March. And the reason that the local is happening is because there was a need for it. Because we were having one-on-ones going on, which led to unfranchised business presentations. But then we needed a training where what we do is we bring somebody in from another state to come and train here on how they built their business. It usually goes from about 9 to 4 or 8 to 3 or something like that. And so it's just a great training, and it's done by somebody from another area. One thing you'll find in this business is people will always listen to somebody else more than they'll listen to you. It's kind of like being a parent, right? They're always going to listen to somebody else more than they're going to listen to you. And so it always works that way. And so that's why we bring somebody else in. It's like an expert from afar. They're always going to listen to that expert from afar more than they're going to ever listen to you. So we bring those people in, and that's the next rung of this pyramid with the GMTSS. But if one-on-ones are not going on, there's no reason for a local seminar. Does Does that make sense to everyone? The only reason we have a local is because it's necessary, and each one of these should be a bigger and more exciting event. Okay, so you have a one-on-one, and with Michelle sitting down with Brittany, showing her the business plan, and she's like, okay, this looks pretty good. But then she brings her to an unfranchised business presentation, and there's, let's say, 50 people there, and she's like, oh, I'm not the only crazy one looking at this, and this actually looks kind of good. And then she brings her to a local seminar where there's maybe 150 people there, and then she's like, wow, okay, this thing must be really working. And so each one is more professional, as well as it brings more belief to Brittany that this thing actually might work. Does that make sense to you guys? Each rung is important in this process. The next thing is a district rally or a regional convention. A district rally is where you have an area that has many local seminars going on. It may be, for the state of Texas, so you have a local going on in Austin, you have a local going on in Houston, and you have a local going on in Dallas. So those three are going on. So then what we would do is we have a district rally where you bring the whole state of Texas together for a training, and at that point you would bring in somebody that's even making more money from another state. Does that make sense? So typically for a local seminar, it would be up to national supervising coordinators, so somebody making $10,000 to $15,000 in a 4-week period. A district would typically be somebody that's making anywhere between $18,000 in a 4-week period up to $100,000 in a 4-week period. Does that make sense? So typically somebody that's making more money at that event that's coming to speak. Does that make sense to everyone? More people, more money up front, more credibility for the company and for you. It's just building that belief for other people. Is that making sense to everyone? So I want you guys to see this because that's where we're going with the state of Texas. And then the last thing for this one right here on the district rally is what we call a regional convention. David and I are the regional directors for Market America. That's 8 states that we're responsible for. So you're just seeing what's going on here in Texas, but we also are working on the same thing in Kansas. So these locals and these district rallies and these UBPs and everything that you have going on here is also happening in Kansas. And it's also happening in Oklahoma. And it's also happening in Missouri. And it's also happening in Louisiana. And it's also happening in Colorado. So as regional directors, then we're responsible for all of those meetings as well and making sure that those things are happening the way that they're happening here in Texas. Does that make sense to you guys? It's exciting. So then we have a regional event which you pull all 8 states together. So people will travel for a regional event, and we may have it, typically it's going to be in the Dallas area because where we are in the region, it's kind of more centrally located, so you guys are very blessed because you got people coming from all these other places, different states, but typically it's there. And so what that means is people coming from 8 states together. It's a little longer event, so it'd be like 2 or 3 days event, but we would bring in a corporate member. So you might be learning from Mark Ashley, or and then also we'd have a higher level there too. So you might be learning from Mark Ashley and Big Al, or something like that at that event. So you'd have corporate person training at that event as well. And then those build into, but you would never have a district rally or regional event if one-on-ones and two-on-ones weren't happening. Does that make sense? And there'd be no reason for that if these things aren't happening. And then the top of that pyramid, where the sugar would be, right, in your food pyramid, I think it's sugar. Do you guys know? It should be, if not. I think sugar should be the top of that pyramid. But it is International Convention and World Conference. That's what you guys just attended. So International Convention, World Conference, it's 2 out-of-state trainings. International Convention is always in Miami, Florida. Our World Conference is always in Miami, Florida. And International Convention is always in Greensboro, North Carolina. And International is in August, and World Conference is in February. So for that, you've got people flying all over the world, not just all over the United States, but all over the world to attend these events and learning from the whole corporate team. Does that make sense? So I want you guys to first understand that there's a reason behind everything, and they're not just coming up with something, oh, that sounds like a good idea, let's throw that in there. There's a reason behind everything that they do, so you guys see that when you went to World Conference, a lot more money being made from people all over the world that you're seeing, as well as you're learning directly from the corporate team and the vendors, so each one gets bigger and better and builds more confidence and belief as you go up the run. Does that make sense to everybody? If you can imagine that the GMTSS looks a lot like a clock, okay? You guys can look at this clock here. And what we do is these events are spread out throughout the year. So this clock is representing the year, okay? So you have basically Miami is at 1 o'clock and Greensboro is at 7 o'clock. Does that make sense to you guys? And then you have a local in between that, and then you have regional. Regional and district are across from each other. So they're 6 months apart. Does that make sense to everyone? And then you have another local, you have Greensboro, you have another local district, and another local. So what I want to do is I want to actually draw out for you what's happening here so you guys will know what the year 2017 looks like for you guys and how to build from event to event to event to promote your business. Does that sound like a good idea? Okay, so let's actually, I'm going to have to draw and set my microphone down as we do it, but let me draw out the clock for you for this area. Don't laugh at my circle. Is that pretty good? Yeah. Charlie Brown, Charlie Brown circle. Okay, so we just had Miami. We have a local coming up. So this is February the 9th through the 11th. We have Houston local coming up in March. Who all has your tickets for that? Okay, good, because it's sold out, just so you guys know. So it's a sold out event. So Houston local, that's going to be Big Al. If you don't know Big Al, he's absolutely amazing. And that's March the 11th. Now, that is where, just so you guys know, you guys are very blessed because your local coordinators are Tom and Brandy Holden. And they, yeah, you understand. And they have relationships with people all over the country that want to come in and help Houston. So Big Al is an executive director. That's $25,000 to $36,000 in a 4-week period coming to do a local seminar. I'll make sure you guys understand that. What did I say? Who did I say usually does a local seminar? National Supervising Coordinator. Somebody making $10,000 to $15,000 and less. Not somebody making $25,000 to $36,000 in a 4-week period. So you can give Tom and Brandy Holden a hand for that. Okay, so that is March the 11th. Okay, we do not yet have a regional, just so you guys know. So there's no regional here because there's not yet enough events going on in other areas. That's why we're building it. So there's no regional at this point, but there will be in 2018, just so you guys know. Okay, and then we have another local in Houston, and that is with Don Martin. Yeah. Can you believe this? Don Martin on June the 10th. Okay. What is usually the highest amount of money that somebody makes that does a local seminar? 10 to 15,000. Don Martin is a director, which means Don Martin makes $18,000 to $25,000 in a 4-week period. So thanks to Tom and Brandy Holden, Don Martin is going to be there. Okay. So then we have over here Greensboro. And Greensboro, the International Convention, is August the 10th to the 13th. And then, okay, this is a big deal. This is a very big deal. There's probably going to be certain criteria for this, just so you guys know. We'll let you know what the criteria is, and we're still in the works on this. But J.R. Reidinger promised to come out for us and do what he's calling a shopping annuity boot camp. I know, so it's going to be J.R. Doing that, and so we're still working on the date, but I believe it's September the 16th. But there will be criteria, so be working on the shopping annuity bonus program, just so you know, because that's going to be part of the criteria for sure. So, because you can only do a small group for that, it won't be able to be anybody that wants to come in the whole state. It's going to be people that have met a certain criteria because he's going to be training on the shopping annuity. So, shopping annuity, that is September the 16th, I believe, at this point. So that's with J.R. Reidinger. Yeah, if you don't know, he's the owner of the company. All right, so September, I got that. September 16th, shopping annuity. District Rally. That is going to be in Dallas, Texas. So you guys are blessed to be having it in Dallas. Yeah, close. And it's October the 20th through the 22nd. Is that your birthday? Yeah. On your birthday. October the 20th through the 22nd for that. And then just to kind of give you an idea coming into December, December the 2nd, we're going to be doing what we call an all-star local seminar. And that means we're going to be using the stars from the area, like Tom and Brandy Molden, David and I, some other people that will be, Quimby and Nick, that will be training in a local seminar with all of those people with their specialties as well. So that's going to be all started December the 2nd. So can you guys see how you build from event to event to event? Okay, understanding that each event is critical for building your business, and each time you want more people that are attending with you. So let's break down, how am I doing on time? Okay, I got about 3 minutes. Okay, let's break down the difference between how to promote an event and how to announce an event. There's a difference between the two, promoting and announcing events. When somebody announces something, let's say that you're going to be moving this weekend, okay? So Stephanie puts on Facebook, she makes an announcement, I'm going to be moving this weekend. Can anybody come in and help me? The chances of somebody showing up with just an announcement on Facebook is pretty slim. Would you guys agree? Agree. So if she wants help, she's going to need to call Josh and Sue and the Kramers to ask, hey, can you help me move this weekend? I really could use your help. That's promoting somebody helping her versus making an announcement. Does that make sense? The business works the exact same way. If you just announce something's going to happen, the chances of people coming are very slim. But if you are personally inviting or promoting an event, the chances of them coming are much higher. Would you guys agree with that? So I want to draw out real fast just some ideas on promoting events and how to do that. So can you guys give me different ideas that you have on promoting events and selling tickets? I'll start it with what I kind of thought of, but then you guys can help me. How do you promote an event versus announcing an event and actually selling tickets to an event? So let's talk about kind of some different things I did, or I could think of. So one of the things I've done is I let people know that it's another way for them to learn more about Market America, but also to meet the team members that they're going to be working with. That's important. You want to set the stage for what they can expect by attending that meeting. Because if they don't even know anything about it, the chances of them coming are very slim. And if you say, oh my gosh, it's going to be so much fun, I can't wait for you to come, you're going to get to meet some of the different team members that we're working with, the chances of them coming are much higher. Here's the thing I want to point out though. I want you to see how profound this is. 100% of the people you pick up, show up. Does that make sense to you guys? 100% of the people that you actually pick up are going to show up. If you expect somebody just to drive there themselves and show up, the chances of them coming are much slimmer. Because what happens to most people? They get off work, they go home, they have dinner, and they're like, oh, the last thing I want to do is leave the house again, right? Last thing, I don't even know who's going to be there. I don't know anyone. I don't even know exactly where it is, right? But if you're coming to pick them up and they know that you're going to be there, of course they're going to come with you, right? JR has always shared this joke that, he went to go pick up some guy and knocked on the door and didn't hear anything and nobody came to the door. So JR drove around the block, came back, and the lights were off when he was there. Came back around the block, came back, the lights were on. He went to go, no. Okay, are you ready to go? The guy was like, oh, I'm not dressed. That's okay, we'll get dressed. I'll just wait for you. Because most of the time, people don't know. And the guy ended up coming and he had a great time, But people don't know, and they're probably hiding under the bed, I don't know. Persistent That's going to be another important thing. And then, what was that? Edification. That is great. That's exactly right. Edification is another. You always want to talk about an event when somebody's at the height of their excitement. Does that make sense? So you get down to sharing the plan to them and they're excited about their future. That's when you share, hey, you should come. We're having an unfranchised business presentation on Thursday night. You'll be able to meet some of the team members, learn more about the business, have them pick you up. That's the height of their excitement versus letting a week go by from the time that they saw the business plan, call them up and say, hey, you want to come to a meeting with me? They're like, I don't want to go to anything. But when they're excited, right, is when you promote an event. Does that make sense to everyone? That's when you sell a ticket to an event that's coming up. So that's another important thing. When somebody is registering their business is when you sell them a ticket to another event. Does that make sense? So they're registering their business. Part of registering your business is getting training. And so get them a ticket to the next upcoming event or to international convention or a world conference. So that's the time, because at that point, that's the height of their excitement. That's when they need to have a ticket so that they are learning how to build their business and to grow their business versus trying to chase them down afterwards. Does that make sense? And if they have a ticket and they bought it, it starts to burn a hole in their pocket. They're like, I spent $30 for that ticket. Of course I'm going to go, right? Most of the time they're going to show up. Let them know what they can expect. I think I covered that earlier. And anything else that somebody's got? I heard anything else that you guys can think of? Anything with you, Brandy? Covered it? So here's something I want you to write down for tonight, just to finish this portion. Your ability to promote and sell events. So your ability to promote and sell events will determine the amount of residual income you will experience. Will determine the amount of residual income you will experience. So you can make 6 figures in Market America, but it doesn't mean it's residual. It's the training system outside of you, it becomes much bigger than you, that creates residual income. And there's a lot of different personalities in Market America and a lot of skill sets that we've seen. But the people that can sell the tickets and can get people to events and really promote that are always the ones that make the most amount of money. Because they understand that it's much bigger than them. It's about something bigger that people can attend, and they're going to learn that goes from having faith to belief that it could actually work for them.
Hey, Stacy, I do want to say something because it's really profound when I think about Tom and his business and when he got started. You know, he got started with David and Stacy in their early 20s. And, you know, he's like, yeah, you know, I don't know. It's really not for me. He wasn't very coachable, was he? No. And so,
well, he was listening to another 23-year-old couple. He's like, whatever.
You know, yeah. So they didn't know. They were blind leading the blind, but yet they were excited. But I think point being was it took him 17 months to earn his first check, his first $300. And then what happened is they made fun of him for not going to the event. And he's like, I'm going to show them. So he decided to get on.
We didn't just make fun of him. We booed him.
No, they're like, explain what you experienced. But literally, he went to that event, and then he went back home and went to one of these events that Stacy's talking about, and they were selling tickets, and Tom made a decision. He's like, okay, they had 100 tickets. He bought 75 of these tickets. Now, you know, David was upset with him because he knew Tom did not have the money for 75 tickets.
And we were the local coordinators, which we would have to pay for the event then.
And so Tom asked David, how are you going to pay for these tickets? And he's like, don't worry about it, one ticket at a time. You took my check. So, but the point being was, like Tom said, he's learned a lot along the way about, doing what he has to do. But the point was, is he went out and he sold with enthusiasm. Listen, you got to come be with me. Listen, he didn't sell all 75 tickets. He sold 62 tickets. But he was making 6 figures in 6 months after that decision. So these tickets, these events are so powerful, and what a great job for us to understand how we do and why we do this business. So you imagine if your JOB told you you had to go to an event, you would go. So we kind of get up here and tell you, you don't have to go. But the person who goes is going to be the person that brings back that belief, that brings back that confidence, because you're around it. You can visualize it. You can literally feel it. It's tangible. And you see from the top down who you're working with, who you're around. They encourage you, and iron sharpens iron when you get to these big events, to the sugar. And then you're on a sugar high, and you come home and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to change the world. You know, but the truth is this is where it's at. It's a 2 to 3 year plan, you know, to 6 figures residually. And so you might be sitting at 2.2 or like at the very end of your 3rd year, and you're like, well, I don't know, I'm there, but I'm not there. Listen, it's not from the time you partnered with the company, it's from the time you decided to get to these events. You know what I mean? Like, come on. It wasn't that he partnered with the company, because little did he know that he was going to go from not making a check in 17 months, and who would have quit? I say good for you to keep going. But then it was the overflow. It was what Emily Olson said. What happens in the first 30 days, 60 days, 90 days rolls over, and now you're seeing the snowball effect of not just what I'm doing. Imagine, you know, it's about what we can do together. It's not just, you know, who I find to partner in this business, or Stacy finds. It's who we all find together. And as people lead the people, lead the people, lead the people, this thing just catches on fire. Just look, it wasn't even here 3.5 years ago. They were broker than a joke 3.5 years ago. And they were just honored by our company, standing in front of 30,000 people to say how this company in 2 years brought them to $7,500 to $10,000. And I didn't believe, but it wasn't until I stepped out and said, okay, I know he knows what he's doing, so I'm going to just have to follow it. Sometimes you don't know what you're doing, and you just have to keep following system and trust that we want the best for you. Nobody's here to try to take your money or to do any of that. We truly are trying to pave the way and share with you how to be successful, because when you're successful, we're successful.
Yes.
Okay, so we're just going to finish it off with the homework assignment. So this is your homework for the week 6. Unfranchised Media app. You are going to listen to The Art of Selling Tickets by J.R. Reidinger. Absolutely fabulous. Fundamentals of Retailing with Kevin Buckland and Field Leaders. This is absolutely outstanding. I mean, it truly is amazing. The Power Profile with Trina, Wyatt, and Maduro. How many of you guys heard? This is the one that Lauren was actually referring to. It was on the front row during Lauren's speech at the convention about the lady that was in an abusive marriage and ended up building her business her very first year in a shelter. And so this Power Profile is excellent. It's absolutely amazing. Lots of tears during that Power Profile. And then we want you to email or text at least 2 audios from the Unfranchised Media app to another unfranchised owner or a prospect. This is really just, we want you to make sure that you understand how to use this app for future things that we're going to be doing, so making sure that you know how to do that. We want you to get a perfect 40 on your weekly checklist. Perfect 40. So that means every category is filled out perfectly. You sold a product, you showed the plan, and you guys know how to do all of those things, so that's part of that. Perfect 40. And then get someone to an event this week. It could be a home business presentation. It could be the unfranchised business presentation that we have on Thursday. Nick, who all is showing the business plan and doing that on Thursday? Quimby and David. So get people to that. It's at the Conroe Towers, so make sure you go to that. Or it could be a Wellness 101. It could be Leadership Academy next Monday. But getting somebody from seeing the business plan to going to an event of some sort. Does that make sense to everyone? So that's your homework.